Today's video is going to be about just a fun conversation about things of the past. Things that we may have used or we may have done years and years ago, we no longer use, no longer need. Just a fun time to speak about those fun things that we did back when we were younger. Now remember, I'm a 60, okay? But one thing I can tell you, I hope you remember. Do you remember back in the day when we had house phones? I know some people still do, but there's a lot of people that have cell phones now. So that's their main source of communication. I think it's the way of life these days. You don't go anywhere without your phone in your hand. You use it for everything. I just don't understand how they use these phones to tap to pay for your orders and stuff at the store. I have a lot of catching up to do. But listen, I wanted to talk about the old telephones. Ben and I were talking about it last night, and we were just cracking up so much. Now, if you can recall, I had said in my intro video that I grew up, it was an old Victorian home. It was a doctor's office / pharmacy or drugstore. Well, when you would walk in the front door of our house, straight ahead from you, you would have the dining room doors. But if you would walk ahead right before the dining room doors, there'd be a set of steps that would go upstairs. Well, because of the stairs being right as you walk in the front door, there was an area below the steps on the wall that was actually made into a telephone booth. I can remember being a wee little kid and running around the house, and there was this telephone booth. You'd sit on it to talk. It lifted. That's where the phone books were. But you know what? It was big enough that when you played hide and seek, it was a great place to hide. That and in the cupboards in the pharmacy or drugstore that was there, because all of the original cupboards and woodwork and everything were just beautiful, incredible. But anyway, back to this phone. I can remember my mom being on the phone. She'd be talking and I couldn't understand, because I would think that she would be talking to like my grandmother or one of my aunts. Well, here she would be on the phone with my grandmother, and we had a party line. Do you know what a party line is? Back in the day, yes. Now you're going to date me. Oops. You moved there a little, didn't you? But back in the day, there were party lines. You could have a party line or a private line. Of course, the private line cost more. And we had phone books. Everybody's phone number was put in the phone book unless you had a restricted number. And when you had a restricted number, nobody could get your number. But it would be comical, because I would see my sisters. We would have an amount of time that we were allowed to be on the phone at night. Now, this is when I was old enough to talk to friends on the phone. I would have a certain time slot. My sisters would, so would my brother. We would all have a chance to get our phone calls in, but we had to limit them because it was a party line. And I don't know how many people were on that party line, but let me tell you what, the conversations that you would hear, just, you would laugh. You would laugh today. And to even pick up the phone and to be talking to somebody on the phone, people didn't think you could, but you could tell when another party picked up the phone and they were listening in on your conversation. Yes, they would. And that's the time when you would say things that people would be shocked to hear. Just because they were listening in, you wanted to give them something to listen to, so you did. And so did I, but I'll tell you what, my Grammy Frick, Maggie. My Grammy, she was the worst out of all of them. I swear, she would sit in her kitchen by her phone, and she would pick up that phone just to see if there were other people on there talking. And then she would listen to their conversation and she would gossip. She would gossip to other people about what she heard. I couldn't believe it. Being a little kid and walking in and saying, Grammy, what are you doing? Oh, you just never mind. You go in the room. I'll call you when I want you. Yeah, when she was done listening to the conversation on the other end, then she had time. But yeah, those party lines, they were something. And they lasted for quite a while. I don't even know when they ended. I remember them in the early 70s. Yeah, I would say early 70s maybe. And like I said, I don't know how many people were actually on each party line. I know it got to the point where you knew who was on it because there were times that people would be on the phone and my mom would pick it up and she would start talking without dialing the phone. It's like, how are you talking? The phone didn't ring. And here she just went and picked it up and heard people talking and thought she joined in a conversation. That's just how things were. That's how things were. And if you had the money, then you got a private line. Then you didn't have to worry about people knowing your business. So tell me, were you born or around at the time of party lines on the telephones? Tell me your story. If you had party lines, what your experience was like. What do you remember back in those days? Those things are fun to think about. When you think about things that existed back then that no longer do. I mean, I'm talking party lines, but now you very rarely see a telephone in anybody's house. I know we don't have one. We just use our cell phones. That's how time changes. We evolve. We've left the party lines and now we all have our own cell phones and our own way of communicating. So no one can listen in unless they're present where you are and they have open ears. That's the only way. You don't have to worry about the neighbors or whoever may be listening in on your conversations. So don't forget, leave it in your comment section, or excuse me, my comment section, on if you were around when it was party line time. Oops, I'm moving again. I'm trying to get comfortable and positioned right in my chair so I can record a little better. It's a learning process, but we'll get there. But anyway, I'm going to let you go for the day. Gave you a little something to think about. And listen, share your thoughts. Any type of comments, where you may be from, things you may be interested in for content creation maybe. I'd love to hear your input on what you think so far. And I appreciate you tuning into my channel. It is a true blessing. And hey, don't forget, hit the like and subscribe button. It helps the page grow. Anyway, have a blessed day wherever you may be. Until the next time.